Hudson Valley, New York. The War of Independence, 1781. Ichabod Crane, an officer in the Continental Army, engages in a fierce duel with a mysterious horseman, marked by a strange brand on his hand shaped like a bow. With a swift strike of his sword, Crane decapitates the rider, yet not before being wounded himself. Barely making it back home, Crane collapses and his life comes to an end. But 2 centuries later, against all logic, Ichabod Crane awakens, clawing his way out of a stone grave. Dazed and disoriented, he stumbles through the overgrown forest, eventually emerging onto a bustling highway that leads to a quiet town called Sleepy Hollow. Lieutenant Abby Mills is working the final shift of her police duty. Her last assignment comes as a call to a local stable. Something has spooked the horses, and the cops suspect a pack of coyotes might be the cause. Expecting a routine situation, the officers arrive on site intending to wrap it up quickly and return to town. But instead, they're met with a gruesome discovery. The stable owner has been decapitated, and someone else is still on the property. The sheriff, Abby's old partner, demands that the stranger step into the light. That order costs him his life, as the figure emerges and swiftly beheads him as well. Fortunately, Abby remains unnoticed. She gets a clear look at the attacker as he rides past her, and to her horror, realizes the figure is headless. Another officer, Andy Brooks, hears the distress call and turns his vehicle around. But right in the middle of the road stands a strange man, Ichabod Crane. Deemed a suspicious oddball, Crane is taken to the station and strapped to a polygraph in an effort to determine who he is. He speaks honestly. He's a spy under the command of General George Washington, and the last thing he remembers is severing the head of a branded horseman. The officers inform him that 250 years have passed since the events he's describing. His story, of course, is met with disbelief. Captain Irving, the police chief, orders Crane to be sent to a psychiatric facility to sort out his delusions. The task of transporting Crane falls to Abby, and she seizes the opportunity to talk to the stranger. He doesn't seem insane to her, far from it. She wants to know more about the headless rider who slaughtered her partner. During the ride, Crane peers out the window, fascinated by the modern world. As they pass a church, he catches sight of a familiar face, a priest from his past. But he says nothing to Abby. Instead, he leads her to the cave where he was entombed for 2.5 centuries. Inside, he finds a Bible buried with him. Crane believes the book holds answers, clues to what is happening and how to stop it. Later that night, the uneasy priest locks the church after finishing his service. But before he can leave, the headless horseman appears. With a blazing axe, the priest too loses his head. Abby returns to the church and finds Crane nearby. Captain Irving, seeing him again, gives her an ultimatum. Get the man to the psychiatric ward now or face suspension. Crane escapes from the vehicle, guided by a mysterious bird to an old tombstone. Upon close inspection, he realizes it belongs to his wife, Katrina, and she was a real witch. Abby eventually brings Crane to the psychiatric facility. There, she opens up to him about why she's reluctant to pursue this case. Years ago, she and her younger sister Jenny witnessed something terrifying in the woods. When they told the adults, no one believed them. Jenny was institutionalized and has remained there ever since. At the facility, Crane is immediately subjected to harsh treatments. The doctors consider him a difficult case and use primitive, borderline cruel methods. While unconscious, Crane sees Katrina. She manages to pass him a warning. Beneath her tombstone, there are no remains. What lies there instead is the skull of the headless horseman. That skull is the key to his resurrection, and if the horseman rises again, the other 3 riders of the apocalypse will follow. Then the end of the world will begin. Abby changes her mind and frees Crane. As they escape the facility, he tells her about his dream, his conversation with Katrina, and the skull buried near the church grounds. The two hurry toward the gravesite, and Abby calls her friend Andy, asking him to alert everyone and send all available units to the church. But Andy, wanting to play the hero, decides to head there alone. He searches through the priest's chambers, and in one of the rooms comes face to face with the headless horseman. Realizing his time is up, Andy chooses betrayal over death. He tells the horseman that he knows where to find Crane. Meanwhile, Abby and Crane uncover a capsule containing the skull. As soon as they find it, the horseman opens fire. Crane fights him off to give Abby a chance to escape and call for backup. The first person she sees is Andy. She runs to him, unaware that he's already betrayed her. Andy locks her in the trunk of his car, claiming it's for her protection. But Abby manages to break free and subdue the traitor. Another police unit arrives at the church, only to be met with a terrifying sight. The headless horseman is preparing to strike, axe in hand, ready to silence the witnesses. The police are saved by sunrise. The horseman fears daylight and is forced to retreat into the shadows. Captain Irving is far from pleased with Abby's insubordination. But when he sees the horseman's severed head, he realizes they'll need Crane's help after all. Andy is thrown into a jail cell so they can interrogate him, figure out why he turned on his own. But before anyone gets a word out of him, a demon from the other side finds Andy first. The cops later discover his body on the floor, neck twisted unnaturally. Crane dreams of Katrina again. She tells him of his true mission. He must stop the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and prevent the destruction of the world. But first, he'll have to face the initial spirit of darkness, a witch who will rise under the blood moon. Despite his death, Andy's story doesn't end. In the morgue, he awakens. Struggling, he snaps his twisted neck back into place. A familiar demon appears before him, the same one from the cell. The creature forces a pendant from Andy's mouth and gives him a task: use it to set her free. Following the demon's orders, Andy arrives at a monument. From its stone surface, something horrifying emerges: a charred skeletal figure of a witch burned during the Inquisition. Andy promises her resurrection is near. All they need is the ashes of her enemies' descendants, and those descendants are found quickly. Andy intercepts a car on a dark road. The driver, Jeremy Ferd, is the great-great-grandson of the judge who once condemned the witch. The man knows nothing of his ancestors or their feud with witches, but that doesn't save him. His life is taken, and he crumbles into a heap of ash. To locate documents that may offer answers, Crane and Abby need access to a secure archive. Crane suggests using a secret tunnel. He breaks through the wall, and guiding Abby through the dark underground corridors shows her the bones of witches, sealed beneath the earth during the time of the Inquisition. Meanwhile, Andy arrives at a quiet house on the outskirts of town. He's there for Kyle, the young son of the late Jeremy Ferd. Back at the archive, Crane and Abby uncover the truth. The name of the judge who sentenced the witch was indeed Ferd. Now they understand why the man on the road was targeted. They must protect his children, the remaining heirs. Just then, strange noises echo through the Ferd household. Little Kyle goes to investigate who has entered the home. His terrified scream shatters the silence just as Crane and Abby burst through the front door. Kyle is unharmed. The witch spares him. He was adopted and shares no bloodline with Jeremy Ferd. But the witch takes the urn containing Jeremy's ashes. Crane realizes they must act fast. The blood moon has risen, and soon the witch will regain her full body and all her dark powers. Now a servant of dark forces, Andy digs up the witch's bones. Before Crane's very eyes, she begins the ritual, an ominous chant, and the dark woman rises from death. Crane seizes a chance to destroy her. He ignites a powder keg, hurling a burning torch into the crates. An eruption of flames consumes the witch, who barely had a few moments to experience the new world before being turned to ash. Soon after, Abby begins to suffer terrifying nightmares. In her dreams, Crane transforms into a monstrous creature and tries to attack her. But he's not the only figure in the visions. There's also a doctor, a woman who once examined Abby and her sister Jenny back when everyone thought they'd lost their minds. A few hours later, the dream proves to be more than just a dream. The very same doctor is found standing on a ledge, demanding to speak with Lieutenant Mills. Without hesitation, Abby agrees to help. She climbs out onto the ledge, trying to talk the woman down, but the doctor won't listen. Tearfully, she confesses. Jenny never deserved to be institutionalized. It was her fault, and now she must pay the price. Abby notices the woman's eyes. They're eerie, as if clouded by a white mist with no iris. The doctor jumps. Abby rushes to report what happened. She and Captain Irving return to examine the body. But just as they do, the woman's eyes turn to sand and dissolve into nothing. Crane is convinced they need to speak to Jenny. She might hold the key to understanding what's going on. He insists on speaking to her alone. He tries to convince her. Every one of her visions is proving to be true. They know now that she was never insane. Abby then reveals that Jenny wasn't the only witness. There was another, a man who saw the creature in the woods too, but like her, he kept silent out of fear of being labeled crazy. Later, police are called to that man's home. Abby and Crane arrive to find the house surrounded. The man has taken his family hostage and says he'll only let them go if he can speak to Abby. The first thing she sees are his eyes, white and glassy, just like the doctor's. He confesses that he betrayed Jenny. He should have spoken up. Now he has to pay. Before pulling the trigger, he warns Abby, "Your time will come too. The Sandman will come for you the moment you fall asleep." Hearing this, Crane realizes they're facing something far more sinister. They dive into every myth and folktale they can find. Eventually, Crane uncovers the truth. The victims are being hunted by a demon named Rokuratios, a mythical figure who takes his victims at night. Abby brings Crane to a man named Seamus, a used car dealer rumored to have the powers of a shaman. According to legend, he's the only one who can send Abby into the spirit realm to confront and destroy Rokuratios. Seamus wants nothing to do with it at first, but after much persuasion, he reluctantly agrees to help. The shaman leads them to his hidden lair, where he offers Abby a ceremonial drink that will open the doorway. Crane, unwilling to let her go alone, takes a few gulps himself. With the help of a scorpion, Seamus guides them into the netherworld, a valley of death, where they must face Rokarotios and defeat him. The pair enters the otherworld, but are immediately separated. Crane must search for Abby while she is subjected to a spiritual trial. Rokarotios forces her to relive her guilt, to confront the moment she turned her back on Jenny and refused to speak the truth about what they saw. As the demon prepares to destroy her, Crane finds Abby and stands between them. Abby finally speaks the truth aloud. She admits her guilt, her betrayal, and that, at last, is the key. The monster turns to glass. It shatters, exploding into 1,000,000 brilliant shards. The danger is over. Now Abby wants only one thing, to speak to her sister and ask her for forgiveness. But when she arrives at the psychiatric facility, she's met with a chilling surprise. From Jenny's former foster mother, Abby learns where to find her sister. The two finally reunite at the sheriff's house after years of separation, but their first meeting is anything but peaceful. Old wounds flare up, and it takes Crane's steady voice to diffuse the argument. After a long, painful conversation, the sisters agree to work together. While searching the house, Abby finds a sextant, an odd discovery, since her friend the sheriff never once mentioned owning one. Crane instantly recognizes the carvings and symbols etched into the instrument. He senses a hidden purpose. Turning it over in his hands, he eventually unlocks the secret. It's not just a sextant, it's a disguised projector built to keep it out of enemy hands. When activated, the device beams an ancient map of Sleepy Hollow onto the wall. With it, the team can pinpoint the location of a mysterious chest. But before Crane can memorize the map, gunfire erupts from outside. They manage to escape unharmed, but the attackers steal the sextant, leaving behind one of their own. Crane examines the captive and finds a Hessian tattoo, marking him as a member of the same secret order to which the Headless Horseman once belonged. Interrogating the man, Crane learns that the Hessians are hunting for a book of dark magic, one that could summon 72 powerful demons into the world. The captive bites down on a cyanide capsule and dies before revealing more. Desperate, the team returns to the drawing board. Crane takes a painting from the wall and tries to reconstruct the map from memory to figure out where the book is hidden. The Hessian cult gets there first. They find the secret chamber, retrieve the book, and begin the summoning ritual. A portal to hell bursts open. Fire engulfs everything around it. Abby and Jenny arrive just in time to try and stop the coming of the demons. A fierce battle ensues, but Abby manages to slam the book shut, toss it into the flames, and close the portal before it's too late. Somewhere in the forest, a sweet little girl strolls through the trees. From the shadows, a boy watches her with curiosity. Eventually, he gathers his courage and approaches. She smiles and invites him to play. The boy runs after her joyfully, only to fall into a trap. A monstrous horseman chases him through the dense woods. Hours later, Abby receives a radio alert. A child has been found unconscious just outside town. She and Crane rush to the scene. Upon examining the boy Thomas, Crane notices dark veins under his skin, a telltale sign of plague. Thomas is moved to a quarantine zone. Crane is asked to communicate with him via video, as the child speaks in Middle English, and Crane is the only one who can understand him. Abby and Crane head into the forest where the boy was found. They scour the ground for tracks and clues. Following strange signs etched into the trees, they discover a hidden path. It leads them to an island, home to a long-lost colony ravaged by plague. After speaking with the colonists, Crane uncovers the truth. Centuries ago, the settlement was cursed by the horsemen of pestilence. Most of the people fell ill, some died, but a few survivors made it to Sleepy Hollow. There, they not only lived, they stopped the horsemen. Now, dark forces have manipulated Thomas into fleeing the colony. In doing so, he has unleashed the plague once more. If they don't return him, humanity could face extinction, but no hospital will release a child infected with a deadly disease. And worse, Crane begins to develop dark veins of his own. He's quarantined alongside Thomas. The illness gives Crane a fleeting glimpse of the other world. There he sees Katrina once again. She tells her husband the truth. If he's here, it means his time is running out. But Abby refuses to give up. She prays for guidance and receives a sign. The only cure lies in Roanoke, the forgotten town where the boy was born. Captain Irving remains skeptical about magical solutions, but when he sees the infection spreading, he gives in. He allows Abby to take Crane and Thomas out of quarantine, promising to release the others as well if the plan works. The group struggles through the forest. The plague is draining the strength from both Crane and Thomas. And to make matters worse, the horsemen of pestilence is closing in. They have no choice but to hurry if they want to reach the sacred well in time. Just moments before the horseman appears, Crane plunges into the water with Thomas. The result is immediate and miraculous. The horseman disintegrates into a cloud of dust and energy, and the infected begin to recover, their veins clearing, their minds returning. With the horsemen of pestilence defeated, Crane releases Thomas to his people, and they vanish into the mist. The boy and the entire colony had been ghosts all along. Having saved the world again, Crane continues to embrace modern life. He discovers a new passion, baseball. He loves the chaos, the shouting, the freedom to yell without judgment. But after a game, Crane feels the need for solitude. He visits Katrina's grave, unaware that someone is already waiting for him. The moment he's alone, a tranquilizer dart hits his neck. Katrina finds a way to contact Abby, warning her that Crane has been taken. She tells Abby there is only one way to save him and destroy the horsemen. They must find the Sin Eater. Abby brings the news to Captain Irving, reminding him of the horsemen and begging for his help. They need to locate the Sin Eater before it's too late. Meanwhile, Crane awakens inside the lair of the Freemasons. He is one of them, and now he must recall how he became part of their brotherhood. Centuries earlier, when he was still an officer in the British Army, Crane was ordered to interrogate Arthur Bernard, a rebel and a spy. That was when he first met Katrina. She pleaded with him not to participate in the torture or execution of Arthur. Crane tried to remain loyal to the crown, but his love for Katrina prevailed. Abby and Jenny exhaust themselves searching for the Sin Eater. Just when hope seems lost, Abby notices a small clue, a detail that leads them to their target. He turns out to be an unassuming elderly man, Henry Parrish. He wants nothing to do with strangers and firmly declares he no longer does that. But Abby convinces him, without his help, the horsemen of death will destroy the world. She explains that Crane and the horsemen are bound by blood. During their battle 200 years ago, their blood mingled, tying their fates together. Only the Sin Eater can sever that link and save Crane. Back in the past, Crane chose love over duty. He refused to execute Arthur, despite his orders. Arthur revealed valuable secrets to Crane before attempting to flee, but he never made it. A demon appeared in the forest and did what Crane would not. Crane escaped, passed Arthur's final words to Katrina, and shed his red coat forever. Still, for 2 centuries, he has carried the guilt of Arthur's death. The Masonic leader tells Crane it's an honor to sit beside him. But even so, they must destroy him to break the bond with the horsemen. Following Parrish's directions, Abby and Jenny find a hidden door. At the entrance, Masonic guards attempt to block them, but Abby promises hell to pay, and the guards reluctantly let them through. Crane admits to Abby that he's ready to die. If he drinks the poison, the horsemen will perish too. Abby insists there's another way. The Sin Eater can divide their souls. But Crane believes the risk is too great. He thanks her for everything and drinks the poison. But death doesn't come. Instead, he wakes to the sound of Abby's voice and sees Henry Parrish standing over him. With Crane still alive, the Sin Eater begins the ritual. He summons Arthur Bernard into the room so Crane can finally face his greatest sin and seek redemption. The chamber trembles, reality bends, and when the ritual ends, Crane understands the bond with the horsemen is broken. Crane arrives at a Masonic gathering, only to find all the members beheaded. Abby arrives shortly after and sees, even from the street, that Crane is about to face the horsemen once again. But to their surprise, the headless rider doesn't stay to fight. Instead, his steed whisks him away into the darkness. Captain Irving arrives at the crime scene. The horseman has taken all the heads with him, making the case even more baffling. While searching the house, Crane discovers a Masonic book containing information about the horsemen. But as he opens it, he finds that the most crucial pages have been torn out. Crane begins to question why the horseman didn't decapitate him, and finally he understands. The horseman is searching for his skull. Irving is furious when Abby and Crane ask him to retrieve the skull from the evidence vault so they can destroy it. But faced with no better option, the captain reluctantly agrees to trust the strange pair. He heads to the morgue to collect the head from the forensic expert. At the same time, the headless horseman appears there as well. The horseman opens fire on the lab, but Irving manages to grab the skull and escape. For the first time, he sees the headless horseman with his own eyes, and finally believes what Abby has been telling him all along. Irving brings the head to Abby and Crane, who attempt to destroy it, but they quickly discover that it's impervious. Not even a sledgehammer can crack it, acid won't melt it, and even dynamite fails to dent it. Abby suggests using a hydraulic press at a scrapyard, but on their way there, the group notices a grim warning from the horsemen: street lamps made from the skulls of the Masons. Abby takes Crane to a museum that houses a valuable manuscript, possibly containing clues left behind by the Masons. To avoid breaking into the vault, Abby finds a digital version of the manuscript online. Crane struggles with the modern technology, but eventually manages to access it. Now they face a new challenge: finding the password that will decode the manuscript's cipher. Abby then encounters Andy. For the first time since his death, he insists that everything he's done has been to protect her. While inspecting the horseman's skull, Crane makes an unexpected discovery. On the inner surface of the teeth, he spots a word etched in ancient script. It's the key they've been searching for. He rushes to tell Abby, but finds her with Andy. Crane warns the walking corpse to stay away from them for good. Once the manuscript is decoded, Crane learns the bitter truth. The horseman cannot be killed. The only thing he fears is sunlight. To defeat him, they must summon a witch capable of turning the moon into a sun. But Abby sees another way. They don't need magic. They can use modern technology, a high-intensity solar light system. Abby, Crane, and Captain Irving descend into an underground tunnel to set up a trap. As night falls, Crane walks outside with a decoy skull and lures the horsemen in. The chase leads them into the tunnel. Abby fakes a serious injury. When the headless horseman steps into the center of the chamber, Irving flips the switch. Powerful lights flood the tunnel with artificial sunlight. Irving binds the horsemen in heavy chains. Crane states that this is the best they can do, keep him imprisoned forever. But before that, they have one chance to interrogate him. Abby suggests bringing in Andy to serve as a translator. While waiting in Andy's lair, Crane stumbles upon a book filled with Egyptian hieroglyphs. Suddenly, it all makes sense. The horseman recruited Andy to act as his voice. Andy warns Crane not to go through with this, but Crane insists. He opens the door and commands Andy to enter the chamber. Crane begins the interrogation. As he steps closer to the prisoner, something catches his eye. A pendant, Katrina's pendant, lying beside the chained horseman. With Andy's help, the horseman confirms that the pendant belonged to Katrina and adds that no one can silence the voice of death. Crane explains to Abby that the pendant was a gift from his closest friend Abraham, Katrina's fiancé at the time, but Katrina later confessed she did not love her betrothed. Her heart belonged to Crane. While Crane continues interrogating the horseman, Jenny and Captain Irving raid a Hessian outpost set up at a power station. Amid the wreckage, Jenny discovers strange mechanical components. But before she can alert the team, a blinding flash erupts and the entire city loses power. Even the lights in the horseman's chamber go dark. Abby quickly lights candles to buy them time. While the prisoner remains restrained, Irving orders everyone to gather any available weapons in the tunnel. Crane stays behind to guard the cell. Distracted by conversation with Abby, Crane fails to notice Andy pulling an artifact from his own body, a dark relic used to summon Moloch's minions. Hell's creatures are the first to arrive in the tunnel. Demons pour in from the darkness. Crane finally spots the artifact, but it's too late. The horseman shatters his chains and attacks. Tossing a sword to Crane, he insists on a fair fight. As the blades clash, Crane realizes the truth. The horseman is Abraham, the same Abraham who once loved Katrina. Just as Abraham prepares to strike the final blow, the spirits of darkness intervene. They tear Abraham and Andy from the chamber, sparing Crane's life. A young, wealthy woman purchases her ancestral home on the edge of town. Her bodyguard warns her not to rush the tour, but the headstrong owner insists. While exploring the house alone, she is ensnared by a creeping vine growing from the closet. When Abby hears about the girl's disappearance, she doesn't immediately connect it to her work. But then she sees a name on a note left behind, Katrina K. Suddenly, everything clicks. Abby and Crane visit the estate the girl had toured. Crane remembers the place. He'd visited it with Katrina many years ago. The first thing they find is the bodyguard, brutally murdered, slumped in a chair. Abby tries to call for backup, but there's no signal. Something inside the house won't let her leave. Determined to uncover what the house wants, Crane searches the library and finds a letter he had written to Katrina the day he died. Following the missing girl's trail, the pair descends into the basement. There they find her entangled in vines, hidden behind a door. Crane frees the terrified girl, who keeps repeating the same words. The house is alive. It won't let us go. But Crane remembers the former owner, brave and strong. He believes that by following his example, they'll make it out alive. Crane questions the girl about Katrina. She reveals that Katrina was the last person to visit the house before it was abandoned. Piecing together the girl's testimony and his own memories, Crane realizes the truth. Katrina and the master of this house belong to the same coven. The group tries to escape through the basement, crawling through narrow passageways. In the chaos of protecting the girl, Crane loses sight of Abby. She is left alone in the house, and it's the ghost of a housemaid who helps her find the way out. The spirit leads Abby to a hidden room where she is shown the truth. A vision of Katrina giving birth to a child. Crane's son, a healthy baby boy who never got to meet his father. Crane finds Abby, and she tells him what she saw. He is deeply shaken. To learn he had a son stuns him to his core. He longs to know what became of the child, but before he can speak, a scream from the young homeowner echoes through the halls. A demon has taken her, and Crane is snapped back into grim reality. Crane and Abby rush to save the girl, and once again, the lieutenant sees the ghostly housemaid. Following the spirit, Abby leads her friends through the same hallway Katrina once used to escape. They manage to make it outside, finally free. A chance to leave presents itself, but Crane refuses. He turns back, declaring he must face the force that hurt his wife and son. With a few powerful strikes, Crane slays the tree-like monster, hacking it apart until nothing remains but shredded bark and silence. Crane then calls on Parrish, hoping the Sin Eater can help him reach Katrina once more. What neither Crane nor Abby realize is how exactly Parrish will send him into the spirit realm. Despite the harrowing method, Crane finds himself beside his wife. There, Katrina reveals the painful truth. To save their child, she gave him to a pastor's family. She never saw their son again. Crane returns to the living world and tells Abby what he's learned. Her ancestors were the very ones who raised his child. He asks Parrish once more for help, this time to uncover the lineage and learn what became of their son. Reluctantly, the Sin Eater agrees. The group visits the town archives, where they gain access to centuries-old documents. Crane discovers that his son inherited Katrina's gift. Because of it, he was sent to an orphanage, but the name of the orphanage remains a mystery. A group of unknown demons murder the archivist before she can reveal it. When they return, the group finds a box containing young Jeremy's drawings. Parrish is overwhelmed. He senses suffering woven into every line. In his visions, he sees a child forced to endure unspeakable horrors. But one day after enduring enough, Jeremy created a monster to protect him. And now that very creature is hunting and killing members of the Witches' Order, the same order to which the slain archivist belonged. Abby discovers a poster with portraits of other witches, faces from her visions. She realizes Jeremy's monster will seek them out next. But if these witches were the ones who banished Katrina to purgatory, they may also be the only ones who can bring her back. The group hurries to a nighttime fair where the witches are rumored to be in attendance. Crane insists on speaking with them alone. He pleads for Katrina's release, and in return he promises to protect them from the monster. But the witches accept their fate. They're prepared to face death with humility. Besides, only the Creator can stop the golem, and Jeremy's body was buried long ago. Parrish speculates that Crane's blood might work just the same. Crane steps forward to face the golem, armed only with a shard of blood-red mirror. He attempts to reason with the creature. When that fails, he strikes a devastating blow. In the final seconds of the fight, Crane holds the monster's hand and whispers thanks for loving his son. Moloch appears in Crane's vision. He vows to end the world soon and promises that Crane himself will deliver Abby's soul. Meanwhile, Captain Irving receives a mysterious phone call. A voice demands he retrieve the Bible or his daughter will pay the price. Irving alerts his friends and decides to move his family to a safe location. On the way, Abby and Crane go through recordings left by the late sheriff. One tape shows Jenny possessed by a demon. Abby confesses her fear. The demon may not have been speaking of Crane, it may have meant her. Irving assigns his most trusted men to protect his family, unaware that Moloch has already corrupted them. Not even the priest can stop what follows. Morales, possessed, removes the salt barrier and kills his partner. The demon then leaves Morales and enters Irving's daughter, Macy. While Abby searches for the lantern, a fabled weapon against darkness, the priest attempts an exorcism but fails. Possessed Macy snaps his neck and demands Irving lead her to Washington's Bible. At the archive, the Bible is missing. As the demon prepares to kill, Jenny intervenes. Abby and Crane arrive, using salt and the lantern. Crane performs the ritual, freeing Macy. Afterward, Abby and Crane uncover hidden ink revealing a date, 4 days after Washington's recorded death, written in his own hand. At home, Andy appears. Abby cuffs him and demands answers. He pleads for the Bible, swearing devotion to her and warning Crane will betray her. Crane finds more hidden writings, containing a map to a passage between the living world and purgatory. With Parrish, they exhume a priest's grave to retrieve rosary beads. Though burned by them, Parrish presses on, sensing something vital. Demons attack, but Abby and Crane fend them off. They travel to an island and uncover Washington's true tomb. Inside the crypt, they find the map, hand-drawn by Washington. Their triumph is brief. Andy arrives, nearly inhuman, and attacks Abby. The Sin Eater touches him, bringing Andy briefly back to himself. He begs Abby to destroy the map. Crane, torn, chooses to burn it, sacrificing Katrina's freedom to stop Moloch. But later, in secret, he redraws everything he remembers, by candlelight, hidden from Abby. Parrish tells the group about a dream he had. He's convinced. Tonight, Moloch will begin the invasion. Magic is the only hope of stopping him, and not all witches were destroyed by the golem. Only one remains, Katrina. Crane finally confesses. He redrew the map. The group finds the boundary leading to the parallel realm. Crane speaks the incantation. The gateway opens, and he and Abby step into purgatory. Abby regains consciousness, unable to remember how she returned to her world. But when she sees Sheriff Corbin and Andy standing before her, something feels wrong. They assure her she simply fainted, that everything she remembers was just a dream. The same thing happens to Crane. He awakens in his own time, surrounded by familiar faces, his father, his fellow soldiers. It all seems too perfect. Abby begins to suspect the truth. This isn't real. Something is trying to deceive her. Crane comes to the same grim realization. When he awakens again, this time fully aware, Crane understands. He's still in purgatory. He finds Abby, and together they continue their mission, to find Katrina. But reaching her means crossing a valley of lost souls. Together they push through. Crane finally finds Katrina and tells her about the map and begs her to come with them, but Katrina refuses to risk it. If she escapes, Malak will sense her absence. Someone must take her place to mask the switch. Abby volunteers. She promises to hold her ground until the second horseman is stopped. Katrina agrees and makes a vow to return for her as soon as possible. Crane and Katrina leave the underworld, but Abby isn't idle. She challenges Malak himself, refusing to let him destroy her. As a solar eclipse begins, Katrina sets the plan in motion. She begins the spell to stop the second horseman, but suddenly Parrish appears. He stops the witch and disarms Crane. The shocking truth is finally revealed. Parrish is Jeremy. All this time, he was biding his time, waiting for everything to fall into place, for the perfect moment to strike. He is Crane's son, and he has returned not for reconciliation, but for revenge. Revenge against the father who, in his eyes, abandoned him to a life of torment.